Batwoman, episode 14, Justice for All, unless you black. So, in this episode, there's some new snake bite out on these streets. From what they said that the original snake bite formula was like white and yellow or something, and now there's like a blue version of it that's out there. And the reason why there's a blue version, because they said that Sionis, because he doesn't have Angelique or he doesn't have Ocean, he can't really get the formula 100% correct the way he needs to get the formula correct. So he's having different people try to like replicate it, and it's not really working, and now they got a version that's turning people into bloodthirsty zombies. Batwoman, she's on the scene, then like she's ended up chasing down this one snake bite guy. She chases him into a church, and then there's a bunch of people in the church, and then there's one girl, she's like her pupils have like dilated, whatever, and she's like eating human brains or whatever, and then Batwoman starts like freaking out, and then she's just like, yo, we got a zombie problem on our hands. And then for some reason we immediately cut from that to everybody at the bar having a fundraiser party, and I'm just like, so what happened with this? I was like, there's a zombie crisis. Y'all just having the fundraiser. So anyway, so we're at the fundraiser. The same black woman who was trying to help Sophie's sister with the community center, the one with the glasses, she was the one that was throwing the fundraiser. She was trying to get funding for different community projects. She said she got one guy to donate like a basketball court to the community. She's trying to get like a tennis court set up, and she's trying to do all these good things for the community. Ryan's hosting the event at the bar. Luke shows up, to lend his support, and the girl and Ryan, they're still kind of like flirting with each other a little bit. Luke picked up on it because Ryan had used Luke as an excuse as to why she wasn't able to call the girl or why she wasn't able to hang out with the girl the other day. And then Luke was just like, yo, you gotta do a better job of coming up with excuses, because being a superhero, being Batwoman, you're gonna live a double life. And because you can't tell people who you are and you can't let people in, you're gonna have to he said you're gonna either have to get better at lying or do what Bruce Wayne did and just learn how to brood and and just sit in the cave and just be the savior. But the funny thing is, Bruce was able to balance the Bat life and the personal life. The only thing was, he never wanted to let anyone in to the point where he could have a wife or children. And obviously Ryan's not going to choose that life. So, but the words that Luke said, it kind of resonated in her brain. Then the police show up, and then I'm like, here we go. The cops show up, they bust in the bar, and then they're just like, oh, we got a noise complaint, which was completely ridiculous, because I'm just like, it's a bar. Of course, of course there's loud music. And, Ryan even said that. She was like, it's like it's a bar. Like, there are people here. We're operating a social business. Noise comes with the territory. So it's like, we're technically like allowed to do that. So I don't see what the problem is. And then, the cops was just like, oh, shut it down. Otherwise, we're going to give you a fine or a citation, whatever. And then she's just like, excuse me. And then, she's starting to be a little combative with them. And then, Luke steps in to kind of like diffuse the situation. And he said, listen, officer, he was like, we'll just turn the music down. Not a big deal. And that was the appropriate thing to do. And I don't know why she didn't say that I know why, but, like, all she had to say from the beginning was, like, we'll turn it, and she didn't even have to turn it down. She could have just been like, yo, we'll turn it down. As soon as they left, then they could have cranked that sumbitch back up. But then her pride got in the way, and then she was just like, she's trying to put respect on her name. And then when Luke was just like, listen, we'll turn the music down, she was like, we ain't gonna turn down shit, and then her and the cop got into it. She bumped the police officer. The police officer grabbed her, put the cuffs on her, and then Luke was trying to like, Luke was once again trying to like defuse the situation, and they just grabbed Luke and just put the cuffs on him for like no reason. Like, he didn't even do anything, and they put the cuffs on him, and then they busted up the party, and then they take Ryan and Luke down to prison. Sophie shows up because I guess she was showing up to support like the fundraiser event. When she shows up and she sees that the party who's been busted up, she talks to the cop, and then like the cop was being a dick about it, and then she told him, she was like, listen, I'm a crow, so I understand what the laws, rules, and regulations are. And she was like, yeah, we're gonna check them security cameras to make sure that police brutality wasn't involved and you guys were actually doing your job to the full extent of of the law. And then he said, I forgot what he said. He said something to her. He was just like, it was like, he basically was like, yo, get your black ass out of here, otherwise we're gonna take you to jail too. And then she got in his face and she was like, I'd like to see you try that shit, bitch. Because like, she, Sophie's a crow. So then like, so now Luke and Ryan, they're in prison, and they're talking about what happened. And then Ryan tried to get on Luke because she was just like, oh, because you grew up in a white neighborhood and you went to prep school, so she was like, oh, because you went to prep school, you have the privilege of diffusing a situation. And he was just like, first of all, just because I went to a prep school don't mean I don't know what goes on in the hood. You heard, he was just like, I'm just smarter about it, and I don't have the luxury of being angry towards the cops all the time when it comes to these types of situations. And then, at that point they were trying to figure, like, who could they call? They didn't know Mary's number by heart. And see, I'm from the old school. I still remember people's phone numbers. And since they didn't know Mary's number by heart, the only other person they could have called was Sophie. And then she was just like, you got Sophie's number? And he was like, nah, I'll call the Crows and see if they could connect me to Sophie. And then as soon as he said that, Sophie came around the corner and she said, yep, that call's going to voicemail. And they put her in prison. And then they were just like, why are you in jail? Like, aren't you a Crow? And then she was just like, yeah, but they didn't believe me. She's like, I told them I was a Crow. They didn't believe me. And now my black ass is in here with the two of y'all. Ryan was just like, oh, so the Crow card didn't work. And now they're going back and forth because she was just like, listen, I'm trying. She's like, don't you think like I'm angry? She's like, don't you think like I wanted to like punch him out? But she's like, I got to be smarter about it because I'm trying to make a difference here. And I have to be smart about, like who I am and how I go about doing things. And then Ryan was pretty much just like looking at both of them sideways because she was just like, y'all uppity privileged motherfuckers. She's like, y'all don't know jack about what real black people go through. And then the two of them are looking at her like, but we all in jail though. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't like because you's from the hood and you's from the streets, like you trying to say like we don't understand what's going on with you, but yet we still in prison just like you in prison. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your education is. It doesn't matter if you're, if you're second in command in the Crows. It doesn't matter if you sleep in a van. In the eyes of the law, like black is black, and that's that's basically it. Then they kind of had the conversation, where Sophie was basically telling them, she said that she feels that it's important, for her to be a Crow because like young black and brown kids need to see people in authority. And I agree with that because there's so much talk about police brutality and police violence against against communities, against like black communities, like Spanish communities, like brown communities, poor communities. But the best way to change that, because the thing about it is the people that we're trying to reach are often the people that have the racist, narrow-minded views where they just refuse to see things in a different light. So the best way to change the system, instead of, you can definitely try to change a person's mind. Like that should always be on the table. But aside from trying to change a person's mind, another way to change the system is if there are more of us in the system, like if there are more black and black and brown police officers, if there are more black and brown politicians, if more of us get these seats at the table, we can create like a bigger impact. And Sophie's whole thing is that's why she's a Crow, because she understands what the situation is, but she's trying to change things from within. And then Ryan started coming around a little bit. Then she realized that she did kind of like fly off the handle. Now there's like this random white dude who, he was like a car thief. He got thrown in the prison cell with them. And then he was all like, he was like, this is like random white dude. And he's just like, oh yeah, my peoples, they holding us down. And then they all looking at him like, who the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? But his name was like Eric or like Eddie or Eli. I think it was Eli. He said his name was Eli, and he was all like, power to the people, and blah, blah, blah. So then, so like I said, so now like they're all trapped in prison and they're still trying to figure out how the hell they're going to get themselves out of jail. I thought Luke had money like that where he could have called a lawyer or something, but apparently not. Now with the whole snakebite situation, while all this is going on, and while the Bat, I was going to say the Bat family, but while they were all like locked up in prison, the zombie apocalypse is taking over Gotham City, where more people are getting that blue snake bite and more people are falling victim, to turning into zombies. Mary and Jacob Kane were at Mary's clinic, because in the last episode, Jacob Kane had OD'd on snakebite, and they brought him to Mary's clinic. So Mary was trying to take care of him and trying to get him better. And then when he started feeling better, and then when he finally got his strength back, then that's when this one random guy, he came and he was like, yo, I took some bad snakebite. He's like, I need you to lock me up and try to cure me. Otherwise, I'm gonna turn into a zombie and I'm gonna try to eat people. And then a lot of people started coming into the clinic that were victims of these zombies, like people that were being bitten, people that were being scratched. So now Mary and Jacob came together because Jacob said when he was in the army, he actually took some medical training. So the two of them together actually went to work and started patching up and trying to save all these people who were being injured at the hands of the zombies. The one guy that chained himself up, and he was the one that was afraid of turning into a zombie, he ended up telling Mary about what snakebite does to you. He said that snakebite, it helps you like relive old memories. And he was like, I lost my wife to a car crash, and snakebite put me in a hallucinant state where I could see my wife again and I can get a second chance, like with her, and I can make things better. And then it dawned on Mary why Jacob was taking the snakebite. She was like, I understand that the False Face Society ran up on you and they jammed the needle into your arm, to get you hooked on it the first time. But she was like, bro, you got like 17, like 17 holes between your arm and your leg. She was just like, there was a point where you started taking the shit because you wanted to take it. And then she was just like, you're doing it because you wanted to see Beth and, Beth and Kate again. And he was just like, yes, like I had to see my daughters. And then she was just like, well, I don't feel sorry for you because you're becoming a drug addict, because you're obsessed over the daughters that you lost. Because you're obsessing over the daughters that you lost, you're losing the one that you have left. And then, she got mad and like she walked away, and then Jacob felt bad. Because of the zombie apocalypse, the police ended up turning on the bat symbol. And of course, Batwoman can't come to the rescue because she's locked in prison. And, she heard on the police radio that, that the zombie thing was going on. So now the three of them are like, yo, how the hell are we going to get out of here? Because now the city needs to be saved. And then the same black woman that was flirting with Ryan, that also posted the fundraiser, she came down. I think she brought like the district attorney or something. She came down and she got all three of them out of jail, and she told them that her attorney was going to file a complaint against the police department for unlawful arrest or something like that. So, and then, she asked Ryan, she was just like, well, my night is free. She's like, if you want to get a drink. And then Ryan was like, I can't because I got something to do. And then Luke was like, bring your ass, woman. and then, and then like Sophie went back to the Crows, and then the Bat team went back to the Bat Cave so they can go suit up. Batwoman puts the suit on. She's about to go out in these streets. And then Luke said that he had came up with an antidote to the snake bite. But the problem was, he was like, you can use this to save everybody, but it's not like some cloud of smoke we can just disperse into the air and then everybody automatically be cured. He was like, you literally have to cure everybody one person at a time. So I said, he's like, you're gonna have to get up and close with them, so just just be careful about that. Sophie went back to the Crows, and then she told them, she was like, yo, I need some of the soldiers out on the streets to try to like keep these zombie people at bay. Now that one white douchebag that's been working there, he tried to test her for a second. He was just like, oh, zombies ain't crow jurisdiction, let the police handle it. And then he was just like, oh, does Commander Kane know that you're out here giving orders after your ass just got arrested? And then Sophie was like, first of all, bitch, she was like, I'm acting Commander Sophie Moore, so put some respect on my motherfucking name and get your ass out there in the streets and take care of these zombies. Of course they did it, but what ended up happening was, when Batwoman went down to the church to try to cure some of the zombies that were at the church, she ended up getting overwhelmed by them, and she wasn't able to cure everybody. And then at that moment, those same Crows that Sophie told to go down there, they went down there and they basically murdered all the zombies. And then when Sophie got on the horn and she was just like, yo, what's going on? Why do I hear something? Why do I hear gunfire? He was just like, yo, my bad. We weren't able to save them, so we had to do what we had to do. I hope this guy does not make it to the end of the season. And I hope, I hope Sophie's the one that puts him down in the end, because he's getting on my damn nerves. So then after that, Batwoman then makes her way out into the streets, and then that same cop that arrested her and Luke when they were at the bar, he's out on the street being attacked by a zombie. And I find it very funny because he goes into the lesbian bar and he puts the cuffs on Luke and he puts the cuffs on Ryan, basically for bullshit, for nothing. But then there's a white guy out on the street who's actually turning into a zombie, and he's going around eating people. And now the cop's like, calm down, sir, we'll get you some medical attention. I'm like, ain't this some bullshit? But then like the guy attacked him, and then Batwoman came, hit him with the cure, and then she saved him. And then that cop was like, oh, you saved my life. And then she was like, remember that, bitch, because I almost didn't save your life because you had me locked up in prison. And then Batwoman went to go save the rest of the city. Like, she ends up saving the city. Everything's perfectly fine. Everybody got the cure now. So now Sophie, Ryan, and Luke, they're back at the bar. They're talking about the day that they had. And then Sophie gets to a point where she's just like, yo, I'm out. She's like, yo, I'm about to go quit the Crows because this is some bullshit. And she's like, I'm tired of dealing with the double standard. Ryan said to her, she was just like, oh, we need somebody like you in the Crows. They never specified if Sophie was going to keep the job because Ryan said that, or if she was actually still gonna quit. I'm still kind of like, when the episode ended, I'm still kind of like, so did Sophie quit or did she not quit? Like, that's still unclear to me, but I guess we'll find out what happens next week. And then Ryan ended up talking to the girl, because like the girl with the glasses, she called her just to tell her like, listen, I do like you, but I got some things going on in my life and I can't really be there for you the way you deserve. So the two of them had a drink over it and everything was cool. And then at the end, Luke is on his way back home. He was on the phone with Mary, and while he was walking to his car, he saw Eli, the same white guy that was thrown in the prison cell with him and the others. He saw him trying to rob a car. So Luke was like, yo, this motherfucker really be out here like jacking cars. So Luke took a picture of him breaking into the car, and then Luke walked up to him and tried to talk him out of it, because he was just like, listen, it's not worth you going to jail, over a car. And then the guy, Eli, didn't recognize him. He was like, yo, who are you? And he was just like, we were in a prison cell together, remember, power to the people. And then he was just like, yeah, I'm stealing this car, so get the fuck out of my face. And then the two of them kind of like argued a little bit, and then the same douchebag from the Crows, he pulled up, and then he's like, because this is the same guy who was just like, oh, that's not in Crow jurisdiction, but petty car theft is in your jurisdiction, right? So he goes down, he's like, what's going on? And then Eli, the white guy's like, oh, this black dude tried to steal this car. And then Luke was like, bro, really? He's like, first of all, look at how I'm dressed, look at how you're dressed, you tell me which one of us is out here stealing cars. And then he said to the Crow guy, he was like, listen, I got video footage of him breaking into this car, so let me just show you on my phone. And then as soon as Luke pulled out his phone, the white guy was like, oh, he's got a gun. And then I think they shot Luke like 2 or 3 times. And I'm not happy about that. Because I'm not happy about that because first of all, I mean, it's a powerful thing to see, because that unfortunately is what goes on in the real world. But with that being said, they better not kill Luke Fox. Like, Luke better pull out, and to be honest with you, if Luke getting puts him on the path to creating the Batwing suit, then I'm perfectly fine with that. As long as they don't kill him, like, just don't kill Luke and I'll be all right. So in next week's episode, we're going to have to deal with the aftermath of Luke being in the hospital fighting for his life. And who knows, like, maybe that'll bring him and Mary closer together. But I actually don't, because I didn't see the coming attractions for next week's episode. So I don't know what's happening next week, but Luke getting shot is not a good thing. But we'll like I said, we'll see. We'll definitely see. And then finally, like, the Alice portion of the show, because remember, in last episode, it ended with Alice finding out that the girl that works for Sionis Behind the Mask was actually Kate. And then, Alice was like stuck in shock, because she was just like, oh my God. And then when Sionis came downstairs, he was just like, he saw her face and he was just like, oh, because, Alice made the skin face for her. And then he was like, oh, you did it. You made a face for her. You brought my daughter back. He was just like, for doing this, you've earned your freedom. And then he was just like, so you can go, but don't tell anybody what happened. Otherwise, we'll cut out your tongue. And then Alice is just like looking at Kate. And then Black Mass is like, bitch, why are you still here? I told you had your freedom. And then, Alice is like, oh, sorry, toodaloo. And then, like, Alice leaves. She goes and runs up on Enigma, and she tied Enigma up. And then she was like, bitch, we was in therapy for like 3 weeks. And throughout the entire therapy session, when I was asking you to erase Kate from my brain, not once did you bother to mention that Kate is actually still alive. She's brainwashed and she's working for Black Mass. And Enigma was just like, well, Sionis told me, he'd kill me if I told anybody. And then Alice was like, bitch, I'm about to kill you right now. unless you can unwhammy like Kate's mind. And Enigma was like, okay, fine. She was like, she's like, I can undo the mind control, but you have to get me something that belongs to Kate. So Beth goes back to her hideout to try to find something that belonged to Kate. And then she bumps into Ocean, because apparently her and Ocean have been sleeping in the same hideout together for at least 2 or 3 days. And Ocean said, he was like, yo, I've been waiting for you for 2 days. He was like, yo, what happened? And then she told him that, Kate's still alive. And then she cried in her arms. Ocean and Beth, they go back to Enigma. They got her tied up in a chair. And she's basically giving her the information about how they brainwashed her, why they brainwashed her. And then she was just like, I have these keys that belong to Kate because it belongs to Kate's motorcycle. And it's a powerful trigger for Kate because it reminds her of like when she can be free and she can escape the world and, and this, that, and the third. So she'll remember it if I give her these keys. And then, Enigma was just like, okay, the keys are one thing, but then you also have to know the password, like the safe word, because every single person that I hypnotize, I give them a safe word that snaps them out of it whenever, whenever they hear the word. So then she was just like, well, what's Kate's safe word? And then right before she said what the safe word was, Ocean snapped her neck and he killed Enigma. And I was just like, well, damn. I kind of wanted to see more Enigma, but okay. And then, Beth got mad at him, and then she was just like, oh, why'd you do that? And then he was just like, I don't want you to bring Kate back. And I was like, well, shit, we just gonna flat out say, like, I didn't think he was gonna dead ass say that, but he said it. And then she was like, oh, why? Because you're jealous that if I get Kate back, I won't want you. And then he was like, first of all, he was like, unlike Kate, I actually love you. He said, like, I love you, I'm there for you. He was like, I got your back, I'm with you 100%. He's like, Kate tried to bring you, Kate tried to like bring you back. He tried to, Kate tried to redeem you, but when Kate couldn't save you, I forgot Ocean knows that Kate was Batwoman. He was like, when redeeming you was too hard for Kate to do, Kate chose the city over saving her sister. He was like, that's not love. And Kate didn't really love you. I loved you, and I just did you a favor because you need to know that you need to function in life knowing that your sister's actually dead. And is Alice gonna let that go? Hell no. Like, of course Alice isn't gonna let that go. But now it's interesting because Ocean told Beth that he loved her. So now I kind of want to see, does Beth choose Kate over Ocean or vice versa? Which will be very interesting to see, as the weeks progress, as we lead up to the end of the season. Because we get 22 episodes, we're up to 14. So that's what, 6, 8, we got 8 episodes left. So definitely here for the ride and to see what happens because the Kate reveal is coming. And at this point, Beth should basically just tell the Bat team that Kate's still alive. So thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you thought of this episode of Batwoman. It wasn't as heavy on the social justice as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be an entire episode of them in prison, and it wasn't. And I was totally fine with that. I like how they did it. I like how they handled it. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't shoved in your face. And the whole focus thing now is that Luke's been shot, and we gotta take care of that. So let me know in the comment section what you think. What you think below. Definitely check me out on Twitter. Check me out on Instagram. Check me out on YouTube as always. That's where you leave your comments. Click the notification bell. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Check me out on the Tacos and Geek podcast that I do with Sean, Justin, and Gotham Geek Girl Nadia. And let's talk about all this superhero craziness as we roll forward in the days to come. Thank you for tuning in, guys. So until next week when we find out what happened to Luke, signing off for Batwoman episode 14. And until next time, power to the people. And I'm out this bitch.